negotiations which were supposed to be open, but basically intergovernmental negotiations were from the very beginning attended by the civil society and other stakeholders. The civil society representatives, NGOs, were the most vocal participants. We had special sessions with them, but we also had to make sure that they had their speaking rights among the member states. They were the most ambitious actors, the most vocal actors, the most critical actors, and their criticism was very, very high. We have referred to the climate change goal. Without a very strong push from civil society on climate goal, on human rights, on peace and security as a component of sustainable development, and transparency of the functioning of our institutions, we would not be able to achieve those targets and goals what we have to, even in their present and imperfect shape.
It's very good to hear. Thank you very much.
You did a very good job. I see tremendous role for the civil society organizations, both in the upcoming negotiating phase as well as in the implementation phase. In the upcoming negotiating phase, I think it's a common interest for all of us to make sure that the civil society voice is heard and is made as an input, as a common wisdom by the decision makers. For a very simple reason, whatever member states and governments will decide upon, it will be implemented by a very, very broad range of players, not only governments, but civil society, business community, academia, and many others. Without having them on board during the programming phase, it would be a rather hopeless situation to expect them to buy in from the very first day. So what you can do, I'm sure Beyond 2015 has a very good matrix of what countries are the champions and what countries are the lagging behind countries. I'm sure you have a very good matrix on what are the difficult issues in certain countries. So this is the area where most probably you can do a very, very interesting and very useful job to work with the government, to work with the rest of the civil society, to exercise what you have to, pressurize governments. The accountability framework and the partnership platforms are still under negotiations. To be quite precise, the negotiations haven't started yet, but they will come in the very near future. And I'm absolutely sure, and I trust, that the civil society must be part of the partnership platform. But once you mentioned the accountability, we need to rethink many of the traditional issues. We need to rethink our roles. It's absolutely important that we could give the answer to the question, accountability by whom, to whom, for what. And the most important part of this answer is accountability by the government to the public. This is the most important one. And the transparency must be applied to all government activities related to sustainable development. But since we are going to be partners with all stakeholders, including the civil society, I think we all need to adopt ourselves the jointly accepted norms and requirements. Civil society will also need to show readiness to cooperate and readiness to accountability. Civil society is a very important actor, an absolutely crucial important actor. But civil society is not an elected body. Civil society is going through a natural selection process. It also needs accountability in order to be a trustworthy partner for business, for academia, for governments and for local governments. It takes a lot of homework for all of us to do. It was, and it is, and it will be one of the most sensitive issues in the sustainable development negotiations. First and foremost, because some countries have mixed impressions with the large international multinational corporations. Particularly the Latin American countries have strong reservations towards the multinationals. Some other countries also express certain reservations. Some others believe that we need the business sector on board because governments don't have enough money, and maybe the corporate world's money can be used for sustainable development purposes, which is true. But I think the issue is much more complicated, and we need to take it in a much more holistic manner. First and foremost, there are some companies, not all of them, who are much more advanced in their sustainable development principle applications in their business practices than many governments. They apply much more modern methodology of social corporate responsibility or accountability for their environmental impact than many governments. So for me, the first and foremost is to learn from their positive experience. The second, if we want to achieve sustainable development, it will achieve partly through economy. For 80%, economy is being driven by the corporate world, at least for 80%. So we need to agree and we need to work together with those who are actually implementing, who are building the real economy. Third, we know that we cannot achieve sustainable development with today's technology. There will be a need for technological leapfrog. Today, more than half of the research and development and more than 70% of the new technologies are being owned by private actors. So we will need to work with them. They will need everybody else on board to make sure that their technology, their businesses can flourish in the environment of the sustainable development. And last but not least, yes, financially, we also need to contribute to each other. They will have a responsibility, they will have a role to play, and they will have an accountability to stand for. You see, it is one stop on a longer journey. We should not consider it as the finished job forever. The second, it's a product of 193 states, plus civil society, plus academia, plus business sector, and many other stakeholders. So it's a joint product of many of us who were there. And last but not least, it's a product that is partly evidence-based, partly product of political compromise. The political compromise shows you what is possible. The evidence-based, more science-oriented part of this document shows you where is the way ahead. I wish we could have a little bit more of a science-based in the document, but political realities show us what is realistic today. We needed to iron out a consensus. Until this point, during the negotiations, the European Union had grave difficulties to find its role. It was much more the member states of the European Union that could play a significant role in this process. Now we have a perception that from January onwards, during the next phase of negotiations, will be much more of a traditional type of negotiations when the political blocs will negotiate with each other. At that point, I think the European Union, its representation, will have a much more visible role to play. But more importantly, what I'm expecting the European Union to utilize its huge institutional and scientific capabilities and to bring the data and bring the knowledge to the table and use it for the negotiations. That is a major task for the institutions of the European Union. I think the Hungarian government, the Hungarian civil society, the Hungarian academia, and the Hungarian president himself made their name understood and known in this arena. Hungary has made a sort of branding, but most importantly, there's a strong conviction in this country, in the government circles, in the academic circles, that the future of this country is in a successful transition towards sustainable development. And I see very strong determination among different actors. Not all of them on the same level, and I also see quite a lot of hesitations and debates inside the country, but I would say Hungary belongs now to the avant-garde of the countries which do play a role and do advance the cause of sustainable development in terms of environmental, in terms of economic, and in terms of social advancement. So I expect Hungary to play a role in the rest of the negotiations and in the rest of the implementation as well, both in the country, in the region, and in broader international terms. Of course, taking into consideration the capabilities of this country. My messages to the civil society: first of all, stay on board. The second, be as bold as you can and help keeping the bar very high during the negotiations. Third, to make sure that you are in the forefront of the discussions, think about your internal silo structures. Civil society is not immune from the silo mentality and silo structure, just like governments. We all need to work internally on how to overcome our internal, very focused but still narrow perceptions and some questions. And last but not least, think about the conditions and best ways how civil society organizations would be ready and capable to work on a long run, on a transparent basis with other stakeholders. Academia, business, governments, local governments, none of them are easy partners. And all of them deserve the critics from the others, including from civil society. Civil society also must be ready to take the views of others. Your job is to be very vocal, but be part of it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador Kőrösi.
Thank you indeed.